Hello all, welcome to yet another live session of Narayana IAS Academy. As all of you know, this is Sureka Bhaskar here to present your daily news analysis. So we as usual have picked up very important and relevant topics from both the reputed dailies, that is the Hindu as well as the Indian Express, that become extremely important for your upcoming examination, that is your UPSC prelims examination as well as the mains that follows it. Okay, so as our daily routine, let us actually kickstart our day or the presentation or discussion with or starting up with a motivation quote. So what does it actually say? What is success? It is nothing but it is 10% of your luck. Then it is 20% of your skill. Followed by that, there is 15% of concentrated power of will. So first is your luck, next is your skill, next is your concentrated power of the will you possess, and remaining 50% is actually pleasure. And then 50% is 5% is your pleasure, 50% is your pain, and then finally if you see 100% reason is to remember you by. So at the end of your skill, your resilience, your perseverance as well as your effort to withstand the pain, etc., finally you become 100% successful and also leave behind a legacy to be actually spoken by. So with this, let us actually move into understanding what Narayana IAS Academy has actually brought forth in order to ease your preparation for the upcoming examination. So we as a team have actually come up with a 110-day self-study planner for the UPSC Prelims 2025. So this planner basically started at the beginning of February, and so it is still not too late to actually focus on this because it focuses on every subject thematically, sub-thematically, and correspondingly we have actually provided the list of topics that have to be read from the current affair perspective, and we have actually named them critically important current affairs, and the compilation of the yearly will be released very shortly, mostly in a week or so. Okay, so that you actually become prepared for answering any type of uncertain questions in your examination. Now let's actually move forward to see the products and the initiatives that we have actually come forward with. So we have a 1-year prelims cum mains integrated course for the 2026 examination as well as a 2-year integrated course for the 2027 examination. Here we actually have a total instruction hours of about 1000 hours, where 800 exclusive hours will actually be dedicated to your general studies as well as the CSAT, and the remaining 200 plus hours will actually focus on your current affairs. So this actually covers your entire, that is 3 stages of the examination. One is the preliminary, next is the mains as well as the interview. And also we provide you with a strategic micro schedule where I had actually shown you that we've come up with a 110-day study plan which actually covered every subject thematically, and here the importance of every subject is actually mapped to the type of PYQ that has been asked based on that particular topic. So there was immense work that actually went behind, bringing or formulating or designing this particular plan for you guys. Next, we actually have the expert faculty who actually come up with teaching this integrated course and explaining to you the syllabus, and how well they had actually also done or mastered every subject during their preparation, because they've all been from they've all been to even the interview stage of the examination. And also, in order to give you a personalized feedback and to tell you how your performance have been, we actually have a regular testing as well as feedback mechanism in the form of test series, etc., and our mentorship. Now moving forward, let us actually jump into today's discussion. Okay, so the topics that have actually been picked up for this particular day is, the first is the Panchayati Raj movement is in distress. So this particular article has actually been picked up from the editorial section of the Hindu that discusses about what are the distresses or the challenges that the Panchayati Raj institutions actually face, because this Panchayati Raj institutions as a particular concept actually came in order to decentralize the power, right? So democratic decentralization was actually the theme behind, or was the reason behind bringing these Panchayati Raj institutions into place through 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992. Okay, so now, though the focus was on democratic decentralization and to focus on grassroots level democracy, there are certain challenges that the entire institution of local self governance actually faces. Okay, so there are different challenges, like the rapid urbanization is there, then there is politicization of governance at the local levels, and also there is actually stereotypical, or there is a parochial mindset at the grassroots level, and there are financial constraints. So here we will actually see what are the recommendations of the various committees as well as the finance commission and the second ARC report. Okay, so what does it actually talk about? Enhancing the local self governance in India is what we will be discussing in this particular article. So we will be covering both the prelims as well as the mains perspective. Now moving forward, the second article has been picked up from page number 10 of the Hindu. Indian Ocean region is witnessing a sharp churning, says Jaishankar. So this particular article, here you need to know that recently, India along with two other countries, that is Oman as well as Singapore, is actually hosting the 8th Indian Ocean Conference. So first you need to know what this Indian Ocean Conference is all about, and after that you need to know what is the strategic importance of this particular Indian Ocean region and what are the initiatives or the measure that India has actually been taken in order to establish its maritime sovereignty, or its maritime power over there, is what we will actually understand here. So this is actually going to be a prelims based discussion. Okay, so now moving forward, the third article is what are India's sovereign green bonds and why is demand for such bonds weak. So here, as the topic actually suggests, you guys will know what do you mean by a bond, right? These are debt instruments that are given away by the government, okay, in order to get money or to get more of investment, that is people or the entities actually buy these bonds so that government can actually service its debts. So these are bonds. Here we'll be understanding what do you mean by green bonds. Okay, what is the speciality behind green bonds? Then we will understand what do you mean by sovereign green bonds, and of late why there has been a weakening demand for such sovereign green bonds. Okay, so again here this is actually going to be a prelims based discussion for you. Now the next article has been picked up from page number 12 of the Indian Express. Prime Minister Dhan Dhaanya Krishi Yojana. What is the need as well as the aim of this particular scheme? So here we will be discussing about what is this particular scheme, what are the aim, the objectives, what are the key focus areas, okay, and based on what the districts are actually selected, whether there is aspirational district program which actually came into existence in 2018, what are the other parameters, etc., is what we will actually understand from this particular article. And finally, the last two articles, that is the silent crisis of rat hole mining as well as sex and violence. Here it talks about the concept of rat hole mining. So recently in one of your DNA videos, that is around 10th of February, we had actually discussed in detail the concept of rat hole mining. We had also spoken about Article 21, Article 371. So all these things were, for which you will actually be given the link so that you can go cross refer and revise this particular topic of rat hole mining. Then moving forward, we have sex and violence. This particular article talks about the concept of marital rape. So this also we had actually covered in one of our videos, I think somewhere around in the month of October. So this also, the link will actually be provided so that you can go and revise or brush across your concepts. Now, with not much delay, let us actually move forward for discussing our very first topic. So what is this first topic about? Just give me a moment. Yeah, the first topic, the Panchayati Raj movement is in distress. Okay, so what is this distress all about? So in this particular article, we'll be discussing about the Panchayati Raj institutions, and here it forms a part of local self-governance. Okay, so here what you need to know is about the 73rd as well as the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992. Okay, so this is what you need to know. And also, what are the key provisions of the act, whether it actually provides reservations for the people from SC, ST, as well as women, and what are the significance of it. But however, what are the challenges of late that the Panchayati Raj institutions is a part of local self-governance is facing, is what you need to know. So this particular article becomes important from your polity perspective, because a number of times what happens is that questions on Panchayati Raj institutions are actually asked in your prelims examination, and for your mains examination it is of course under GS paper 2, governance and local self governance. Okay, so now let us actually move forward and see what has been the PYQ that had been asked in the examination. So the Constitution 73rd Amendment Act of 1992, which aims at promoting the Panchayati Raj institution in the country, provides which of the following. So of course you need to know what are these amendments, and what are these amendments or acts, and what are the provisions is what you need to definitely know. Okay, so from this you need to know that this particular topic of Panchayati Raj institutions become of course important. Now let's quickly jump into the topic. So here the Panchayati Raj system was earlier hailed as a revolutionary step. Okay, so this was actually considered that when the 73rd and the 74th constitutional amendment came, we felt that it's going to cause a great revolution, because it is going to cut off the central accumulation of power. That is why it is called as democratic decentralization, where you're going to decentralize the power even to the grassroots level, so that the planning, the development activities, all that is actually taking place even at the bottom level. So it is always not the top down approach, it can also be from the bottom. So this is why this Panchayati Raj institutions had actually come up. Okay, so here this actually was considered as a revolutionary step towards decentralization and grassroots democracy. So even at the grassroots level, even at the village level, there had to be democracy. Okay, so this was actually the concept, but now it is currently facing a number of challenges. It's all easy to understand, right? So once you understand the concept, it's very easy. So now, what do you mean by PRIs? PRIs is nothing but it is a framework which actually seeks or aims to establish the rural self-governance in India. So this actually empowers the elected local body to oversee the local affairs. Doesn't mean that only the center has to come and look at the process for you guys, but at the local level, when you are elected as a local self-governing body, either a Panchayati Raj or a municipality, you can take care of the local affairs also. So what is the objective? This actually fosters the grassroots democracy, advancing the rural development across the nation. And of course, this was actually brought forth by the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992. And recently, it actually had completed 30 years as well. Okay. So now, let's move forward and understand what has been the evolution of Panchayati Raj in India. So maybe if this is not very clear, let's zoom in. Let's zoom. Yeah, I think this would be okay. So it actually starts with the Vedic period. Okay. So if it is not seen, maybe I will tell you from the picture. However, I think this won't be visible. Yeah, sorry for the, pause in between because I need to adjust the the board. So let us actually resume. Let's see how has been the evolution of Panchayati Raj institutions in India. So how it actually eventually transcended from the Vedic period to the post-independence period is what we are going to see over here. So starting in the Vedic period, we'll start with this. So there was a concept of Panchayatan. So what do you mean by Panchayatan? This is nothing but it is a spiritual leader among the key individuals. And then what happens? There were early democratic structures as well, like the Sabha, the Samiti, as well as the Vidhata, as it is described in the Rig Veda. So here itself there was evolution of something like a local self-governing concept, okay, in the form of Sabha, Samiti, etc. Now, moving forward, how it actually transformed during the period of epics, that is the Ramayana as well as the Mahabharata is what we will see. So, during this period, there were actually administrative divisions, okay. That is, it was the city was called as the Pur and then the village was called as the Janpad, okay. This was actually in Ramayana, and also there were caste panchayats. These were representatives in the king's council. Moving forward, there was also village self-governance which emphasized the Shanti Parva and also Manusmriti as well as the Arthashastra. These are nothing but the text that actually talks about what? The social principles, okay? So society, how governance should be done, how the administration of a place should actually be there. So this was the period. Okay, and moving forward there was also hierarchical structure, okay, which consisted of a gramic, a dashyam, then you had the shadgram, and then finally we will actually see the adhyaksha as well as the shadgram pati. So this is how it actually started during the Vedic period and slowly transcended to the epic age, that is during the period of what, that is Ramayana as well as Mahabharata. Now, moving forward, let us actually come to the period of ancient India, okay, when there was actually ruling by the Mauryas as well as the Gupta period. How was this? There was actually a robust system of local self-governance that actually got established over here, where there were independent local bodies, okay. So, there was independent local body and the leadership continuity was actually there, which means there was actually a village headman and council of elders that was actually prevalent from the Mauryan period to Gupta period. So the period, the names and the lineage must actually be remembered by you people. Next one, moving on. So we had completed the Vedic period, then how it actually transcended to this Janpad and the concept of village and etc. during the epic period. Then we moved to the ancient Indian period where it actually continued from the Mauryas to the Guptas where there was a robust system of local self-governance, and finally let's move to the medieval times. During the medieval times, there was actually Sultanate division. So here the provinces were called as the vilayat. So everywhere for local self-governance and administrative efficiency, there was actually division and decentralization of power. Next one, village administration was there, and there that is where you actually see the chaudhry and then you have the patwari etc. taking care of the local self-governance, and finally the self-governance underneath, okay, that is impact of the caste system and feudalism. So there was a lot of caste systems and feudalism over there, but then once the local self-governance came, these evils were actually suppressed or undermined. Next, what happened after the period of medieval, then actually comes the British colonial era. So during that, what happens is that the judicial powers, in fact, to the panchayats were actually given in some of the provinces. So let us see how it transcended during the British colonial period. So there was this 1816 regulation when East India Company actually took over and were ruling many parts of India. What happened is that the judicial powers were given to panchayats in some of the important provinces. That is the first one. Next one, there was Lord Mayor's 1870 resolution, which actually enhanced the powers of these local institutions. Moving forward, there was Bengal Village Chaukidari Act of 1870, and here the district magistrate's power was there in order to establish the panchayats. Next one, in 1882, the local self-governance resolution was actually there, which revived, okay, the tradition of the self-governance. And finally, we have the Morley-Minto reforms of 1909 as well as the Montag-Chelmsford reform of 1919. This actually expanded the electoral process as well as the legal framework. So this actually was the British colonial period. And now moving on, let us actually see how it finally is today, that is post independence period. Okay, so now what happened after the framing of the constitution, after India got independence, what happened at article 40 was actually added under the directive principles of state policy, that is DPSP, okay, in order to include panchayats, okay, where the establishment of panchayats was actually done. And then the community development program was there in 1952. This was actually a rural development initiative. And then a number of committees had actually recommended for a two-tier system, that is a village level, the intermediate level, etc. Then a three-tier system, etc. So these committees actually include the Balwant Rai Mehta committee, which proposed a three-tier system. You need to know as per the recommendation which were the states that established the same. Okay, so here you need to read these concepts. Next one is Ashok Mehta Committee of 1977 that actually recommended the two-tier structure. And then we have the GVK Rao as well as the LM Singhvi Committee, and this also emphasized the district-based planning. And finally, we have the 73rd and the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, which actually established and strengthened the role of the Panchayati Raj institutions, and this effectively got enacted in the year 1993. So this is how the concept of Panchayati Raj institutions actually came into existence. Okay, so now let us actually move on and understand what are the key provisions. So this and all I'll actually take you forward very quickly because there's nothing too much to understand here. So key provisions of this particular Constitutional Amendment Act. So here it established a three-tier system, okay, of Panchayati Raj. One for the village level, next for the intermediate level, and the next one for the district level. Next one, this is as per Article 243B. Next one, Article 243C, Clause 2. What does it actually say? Here, any kind of position that actually exists in the Panchayati Raj system, that actually has to be filled by direct elections by the people, is what this says. And finally, Article 243E, it actually talks about regular elections once in every 5 years. Okay, this is how it actually happens in Lok Sabha also, right? So here also there will be regular election for the posts for this particular Panchayati Raj institutions. In case if the panchayat is actually dissolved, what happens? Within 6 months of period, fresh elections have to be conducted, and the people will actually, or the panchayat will serve for the remaining of the term, is what is very important for us to understand. Now moving forward, let us see the other provisions as well. So the 73rd Constitutional Amendment also provides for the reservation of seats for SCs and STs which are in proportion to their population, and also for women where one third of the seats are reserved under SCs and STs also, and under one third of all the seats are also reserved for women, is what this particular article says. Next one, there is developmental planning according to 11th schedule of the constitution and also article 243. What does the 11th schedule of the constitution says? It actually talks about the powers and responsibilities of panchayats. Okay, so panchayats actually has to create plans for the economic development as well as social justice. And next one, it talks about the role of the state finance commission, that is a state finance commission is usually appointed in order to decide how the financial powers are actually allocated to the panchayats. Okay, so these are few provisions of this one, that is the 73rd Constitutional Amendment. So because of establishing, or just by establishing a local self-governance, what is going to be the significance? Of course, first one, there's going to be a lot of women participation because you're giving them a number, or you're giving them one third of the reservation. There is actually going to be people or higher representation for the socio-economic backward classes like the SCs and the STs, so that there is more awareness. Okay, so there is actually enhanced political awareness. This is one significance. Next one, there is strengthening of democratic practices. Okay, that is the involvement of a new generation in the PRIs. This is going to elevate the entire standard, okay, of the legislative discussions, and it is going to improve the functioning of the local democratic institutions. Next one, there is going to be enhanced planning and development because the PRIs, they are actually responsible for district level planning and development also, and it has been proved very, very successful in some of the states like Maharashtra, Karnataka, West Bengal, etc. Now, moving forward, let us actually see what are the other significance. First one, articulating the local needs, because when there is a grassroots level planning, what happens is that it actually, the Panchayati Raj or the local self-governance bodies act as a bridge between the higher legislative bodies as well as the local population. So this actually helps us to modify or tailor the policies and the programs as per the local needs. So first one, articulating the local needs. Next one, performing administrative functions, because panchayats not only are responsible for the development or the economic activities, but they are responsible for certain kind of civic duties also, like sanitation, like public health, street light, water supply, road maintenance, education at the primary and the secondary level, etc. And also they help in breaking the social barriers, that is breaking down the social hierarchy and actually foster social justice, because when a local self governance is in place, then what happens, your caste based as well as your gender based disparities will actually decrease over time. So this is what this particular significance is all about. Now, however, we see this as democratic decentralization. What happens in a huge diverse country like India, where the needs are actually changing on a day-to-day basis, and the consumption actually changes, the expenditure, the household income, when it actually increases, your expenditure increases. So there are a lot of dynamics, right? So in a diverse country like India, where there is actually lesser literacy rate, what happens is that there are number of challenges that these institutions actually face. What are the challenges? First one, there is decline in the public participation. Okay, so public involvement has actually been reduced because they are not very aware. Either they have lost the trust in the process, or they are aware of the what to say, weakening institutions. So that is what is the first reason. Okay, so this actually reduces the participatory nature of local governance, because first of all, they are not aware of it. The second one, over dependence on the centrally sponsored schemes. Okay, so since these local governance bodies are actually totally inclined or dependent on the centrally sponsored schemes, what happens, they are dependent on funds, so there are financial constraints all the time, so they are not able to tailor or modify the what to say, modify any kind of program as per their needs, is what the second one. Next one is politicization of the panchayat. Okay, so whichever is the state party that is actually ruling, that is actually bringing about a biased resource allocation and reduces the non-partisan spirit at the grassroots governance. Next one, important thing is urbanization and changing development paradigms. Okay, there is rapid urbanization. People are actually migrating from the rural to the urban areas in search of better opportunities, better job, better quality of living, etc. Right? So when that happens, what happens is that the relevance and the effectiveness of these local self-governance body is getting lost, is what the author is actually saying in this particular article. Next one, as I told you, there are financial constraints because the panchayats, what is their source of revenue? It is through local taxes, etc. And even in that case, the releasing of the funds actually gets delayed. So that actually causes a huge financial constraint. And then there is technological and administrative gaps, because there are only limited infrastructure. Not only technological, talk about the buildings. Okay, so talk about how much space is actually required to run a local self-governance body. So all that is missing. Next one, there is inadequate decentralization of power, because some states have actually not yet transferred various responsibilities like energy, education and small scale industries to the PRIs, and this is actually restricting their effectiveness as well as the flexibility. So what can be the way forward? So I will quickly tell you what can be the way forward. I think you can't see this one as well, right? So yeah, let's just try to zoom in. Yeah. So these are the second ARC recommendations. Okay. So Administrative Reforms Commission, they actually tell certain steps in order to enhance your local self-governance. The first of which is Gram Panchayats. Okay. So the Gram Panchayats should be of appropriate size. There has to be enough, ward, that is ward sabhas in large Gram Panchayats, and you need to empower them with certain Gram Sabha and Gram Panchayat functions. Okay, so you need to actually bring about a number of Ward Sabhas and give the powers of the Gram Panchayat. The second one, power to recruit the personnel. Okay, that is, give them the authority for the panchayats to recruit and regulate the personnel, and at the same time there has to be adherence to the state government laws and standards. The next one is budget and governance. So every time a budgetary allocation of fund has to move towards the local self-governing body or the panchayat, what happens, the states have to approve it. Okay, so instead abolish the budget approval by higher authorities and eliminate the need for budget approval by higher tiers or the state authorities. Then local ombudsman for oversight actually should be in place. And then moving on, planning and resources, there has to be proper comprehensive activity mapping. That is, what are all the task force? Okay, you need to map what are all the responsibilities and powers of the panchayats over here as per the 11th schedule, and you need to focus on not only planning but also budgeting as well as financial proportioning. Next one, broaden your revenue base. Not only focus on few taxes, etc., but you need to broaden your horizon. This is what the next one is actually saying. Finally, give them some financial autonomy. Okay, so I think you can see now, give them the financial autonomy where there have to be untied funds for Panchayati Raj institutions, where majority of allocations should be untied funds. Okay, that is, they are no more answerable for their activities towards the local development to the higher authorities. Next one, excluding major centrally sponsored schemes. Okay, only centrally sponsored schemes the local government body, governance body is responsible to be, or it's supposed to be accountable. Next one, timely release of funds should be there. And finally, there has to be infrastructure development where you need to encourage them for borrowing. That is, facilitate the panchayats to borrow for the needs or for their infrastructure needs. And finally, the state government actually has to set what is the cap up to which the local self-governing bodies, either the panchayat or the municipality, should actually borrow for their infrastructure development. So this is all about the Panchayati Raj institutions. Okay, so I hope you've actually understood what are PRIs, what is the necessity of PRI. Before that, you need to know how the concept of PRI actually evolved in India. And so we actually saw the chronology, right, from the Vedic age, how it actually transcended to the medieval, the ancient medieval, the post-independence, India. And then you need to know what has been the constitutional provision that actually talks about the PRIs, and then what is the significance of the Panchayati Raj institutions in India. And finally, you need to talk about what are the challenges it faces and what are the recommendations that have been given by the second ARC with respect to the same. So these are all the points that you need to know. Now, let us actually move to the next article, a very, very interesting article. Indian Ocean region is witnessing a sharp churning, says Jay Shankar. So, in this particular article, I'm sorry for that. So, in this particular article, we'll be discussing about the Indian Ocean region as well as the geopolitics surrounding the same. And also, we need to know how strategically important this particular Indian Ocean region is all about. Okay, so how it is. And so, this is important for both your prelims as well as the mains. And for mains exam, it is under effect of policies and politics of developed and the developing countries on India's interest. and under prelims it actually comes under current events of national and international importance. So if you move forward, there has been a PYQ which actually asked about Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. So these kind of symposium and annual conferences, specifically when it is hosted by India, the nodal agency, participating countries, all that becomes very, very important for your prelims examination. So now moving further, so India recently, just please excuse me. So India recently, in partnership with that of Singapore as well as Oman, has actually hosted the eighth. So it is the eighth Indian Ocean Conference, and this is actually in Muscat, where you can see participating diplomats from 30 different countries talking about the regional security and economic cooperation. So here it is first important for us to understand about the in Indian Ocean Conference. So what is the Indian Ocean Conference? So, Indian Ocean Conference is nothing but it is an annual event only, okay? So, that actually discusses about a lot of geopolitical, then economic as well as strategic significance of this particular Indian Ocean region. So, which is this Indian Ocean region? For example, if this is Africa, from the eastern coast of Africa, and if this is Australia, to the western coast of Australia, and here somewhere you have India, okay? So, this entire region is the Indian Ocean region. Do you understand? So here around 30 countries are actually located. So this is what you have, and then so there is an annual meet of the policy makers as well as other diplomats who actually meet every year. So this is what it is saying, that is policy makers, scholars, business leaders as well as the civil society representatives actually assemble in order to talk about the security, trade and cooperation in this particular region. Initially it actually started, that is the first meeting was in 2016, that actually took place in Singapore, and followed by that the seventh one, that is, this is the eighth one that's actually happening in Muscat, and the seventh one actually took place in Perth, that is Australia, in 2024. And this is actually organized by India Foundation along with other regional organizations. Very, very important. What is the significance of the Indian Ocean region? So, if you see first one, if you see the oceanic scale, okay, so the Indian Ocean is actually the third largest and most significant among the five oceans of the world. Which are the five oceans? First one is the Pacific, next is the Atlantic, next is the Indian Ocean, that is the third, and then you have the Northern as well as the Southern Ocean, that is the region around the Arctic and the Antarctic. So, it is the third largest of the five ocean basins after Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean. It hosts a population of around 2.7 billion, which is more than a third of the world's population. It is rich in its natural resources, okay, including the hydrocarbons as well as the polymetallic nodules, that is the PMNs. And then, if you see the maritime choke points, it actually has, it is home to major maritime choke points such as the Strait of Hormuz as well as the Strait of Malacca, somewhere near Southeast Asia. Then if you see trade route, it actually handles around 60% of the global maritime trade and 80% of the global maritime oil trade. Okay, very, very important. Then if you see the geographical landscape, this actually stretches from the eastern coast of Africa, as I told you, to the western coast of Australia over here, and it is almost home to 33 nations. Very, very important. Okay, so this is how the Indian Ocean region is, and it actually holds, even in terms of oceanic scale, in terms of the natural resources, in terms of the trade choke points, it actually has the population, etc., and the what to say, the geographical scope or the scale is actually more. So geopolitically, this particular region becomes very, very important. Now, what are the key initiatives that actually takes place in this particular region? First one, it is the Indian Ocean Rim Association. So this was established in 1997. It is an intergovernmental organization. It actually has 23 members and 11 dialogue partners. Includes India? Yes, it does include India. So this focuses on promoting the sustainable growth, It takes care of balanced development, regional cooperation among the Indian Ocean region countries, and mainly focuses on maritime safety, the facilitation of trade, the environmental protection of the ecosystem in this particular region, etc. Next one is the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium, that is the IONS. First is the IORA, next is IONS, established in 1997, and 11 years later in 2008 this was established. It is a regional forum only in order to same enhance the maritime cooperation among the navies of the Indian Ocean littoral states, and also takes care of combating piracy, the maritime terrorism, as well as natural disasters. Okay, so this is what is the key initiative. Next one, it also involves China's Belt and Road Initiative, or the String of Pearls. This is nothing but China has actually been off late investing a lot in many of the ports. For example, if you actually see the Gwadar port in Pakistan, if you see the Chittagong port in Bangladesh, and then the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka. So all these things, so China's BRI infrastructure projects across the IOR, such as port-led developments in Gwadar, the Hambantota, and you have the Chittagong is actually very, very significant in this region, and that is why the String of Pearls is nothing but China's strategic investment in these particular ports, and this actually enhances or increases the presence of China. That is why at the same time it alarms and gives a signal to other countries also to establish their presence in this particular region. Also, if you see, US actually has military presence in this region via the joint military base in Diego Garcia. So where is this place? It is one of the largest islands of the Chagos archipelago. Okay. So this is what it is. All this location on the maps is important. So if you see, different countries are establishing their presence there, which actually shows its important strategic importance, okay, and how it is actually going to change the global order or geopolitics. Okay, now let's move forward and see what are the key initiatives India actually has towards this IOR. The first one, in terms of strategic and military initiatives, we have our Sagar initiative, that stands for security and growth of all in the region policy that focuses on maritime security. Next one, we also have our military bases in Mauritius as well as Seychelles, and also we have multilateral naval exercises like Malabar as well as Milan. Milan is almost with 40 other countries, and then Malabar is a combination of India, United States, Japan as well as Australia. So this is Malabar. Next one, with respect to soft power outreach as well as the human aid, okay, in terms of disaster as well as resilience, we provide scholarship and training programs for the IOR countries, and also we have the disaster management programs, that is human disaster and risk assessment in Mozambique after the cyclone Idai. And we also promote Buddhism and local, cultural tourism circuits there. And then we also have multilateral engagements. India actually is an active participant of the IORA, that is Indian Ocean Rim Association. Moving forward, we also engage with regional blocs like the ASEAN, the BIMSTEC as well as the SAARC. And then we also collaborate with the powers like, US, Japan as well as Indo-Pacific Rim in terms of Quad, if you see. And finally, we have the economic and trade initiatives that actually includes the project MOSM in order to revive the ancient maritime routes and cultural links. The next one is developing the ports such as the Chabahar port as well as the Sitwe port. Chabahar, where it is in Iran, and Sitwe is in Myanmar. So the names of these ports also become extremely important. And next one is participating in IORA's blue economy initiatives. Okay, so this is what is more important. Now let's move forward. The third article that we are discussing is India's sovereign green bonds, and why the demand for such bonds are weak. So here we'll be discussing about what are green bonds and what are Indian sovereign green bonds. Okay, so bonds, as I told you, these are debt instruments, right? Where the government actually gives out the bonds in order to raise money in order to service its debts. So these are called as debt instruments. And specifically, why the term green bond? Green bond is nothing but these are bonds in order to service the climate related or emission related projects. Okay, that is green bonds. And why the name sovereign? Because it is actually given by the government. That is why it is called as a sovereign green bond. So these are the debt instruments given out by the government in order to actually, raise money for the what to say, the climate related projects like the electric locomotives, and then reduction of the carbon emission and other projects like that. Okay, so this becomes important for both the prelims as well as the mains examination, and this has actually been, specifically these kind of terms that are released during the government budgeting becomes very important for your exam. Now let's move forward. So there has already been a question with respect to government sovereign gold bond scheme and gold monetization scheme. So these kind of schemes become very, very important. So the news actually says, like many other emerging economies, India is also looking forward to the sovereign green bonds in order to finance its transition towards the low carbon economy. In lieu of, that is because of the high pollution and the targets that India itself, set for itself in order to achieve the SDGs and to abide by the climate or the, Paris conference, the Paris agreement. What happens is, we are actually transitioning to a low carbon emission economy. That is why we are bringing out different initiatives. So as a part of that initiative, the government is looking forward to the sovereign green bonds, okay, in order to finance the initiate, or you can say in order to finance its slow transition towards the low carbon economy. So let us actually see what are green bonds. I told you these are debt instruments issued by the government, corporations or the banks in order to fund the environmental friendly projects, like for example, if the government wants to invest, or you can say help the projects with respect to that of renewable energy, clean transportation, climate resilient, etc., they can actually release this green bonds, and people or entities will actually come and buy it, and so from that money they will actually give it to the particular, running of these particular projects. Okay, and key features is, it is exclusive usage, that is funds from there are used only for environmental friendly activities. Next one, it's a negative factor also because it has lower yields. That is, yield is nothing but it's a kind of interest that you actually get on the bond. Okay, for example, if I am buying a bond for 100 rupees, after a particular maturity period it becomes 110. This is in terms of a normal bond. Okay, whereas if it is actually a green bond, what happens, the yield actually becomes less. After a maturity period it becomes only 104. So there is low yield also, so lower interest rate. Next one, there is green certification, that is issuers must adhere to international green standards. Next one is transparency and reporting, that is there are periodic reports that are required in order to track as well as utilization of the funds. And finally, it is tradable. These green bonds can actually be bought, they can be sold and can be traded in the financial markets. Okay, now moving forward, importance of this is, it is used in climate finance, or you can say climate action, because India is moving towards a low carbon transition, right? And also it will help us achieve our net zero emissions, which we are actually aiming at in, targeting by 2070. Next one, there are global commitments that India actually has, for example, to achieve the SDGs in order to, stick to the Paris agreement, that is the climatic talks, etc. And also there is financial market growth. Okay, it actually expands ESG investments. Okay, so environmental, social governance and green finance sector. So now let us see what have been the global trends in the green bonds. So here the green bonds market has actually surpassed globally around $1 trillion in annual issuance in the year 2023, and the major issuers actually include China, US, EU, followed by India. And the greenium is nothing but the premium. So this is actually higher in Europe, that is 7 to 8 basis points. Basically they're talking about the yield, whereas in India it is 2 to 3 basis points. Now moving forward, the same thing, what do you mean by sovereign green bond? Nothing, it is actually issued by a sovereign government, that is the national government, and it funds the environmental sustainable projects. And here, India's sovereign green bonds, when was it actually launched? In the union budget of 2022-2023 in order to fund the green projects. It follows the ICMA, that is nothing but International Capital Market Association standards, and it aims to finance the low carbon projects, and it funds major initiatives like electric locomotives, as I told you, the metro, renewable energy, etc. And it is managed by the Ministry of Finance and audited by the Controller and Auditor General. Very, very important. And it is eligible for trading and counted under the SLR, that is the statutory liquidity ratio. What do you mean by statutory liquidity ratio? It is nothing but it is a minimum percentage of deposits that a commercial bank actually has to have with itself in terms of liquid money, gold, or other kind of security. So this is called as SLR, and this sovereign green bond is also eligible for, or it is counted under the SLR norms. Okay. Now moving forward, let's see the funding allocations. Okay. So around 12,600 crores have actually been allocated towards this electric locomotives, followed by 8,000 crores for metro projects and 124 crores for afforestation, okay, under the National Green India Mission. Moving forward, there are challenges also. As I told you, the yield is very, very less. There are liquidity issues also because there are very small issuance sizes, okay. So that is the problem. Next one, there is hesitation of foreign investors in order to invest because first of all, the yield is very less. If they don't get the returns, then what is the point in investing? Next one, there is slow reporting because there is very, very slow pace of fund allocation. And then what happens? This actually impacts the investor confidence and also dependence on general revenue. Always, if you see, the green projects actually face budget cuts due to very, very poor and slow bond sales. Okay. So this is what is a sovereign green bond. The last article for discussion today is this particular scheme, Prime Minister Dhan, Dhaanya, Krishi Yojana. And this is important, that is schemes as such is important. Nodal agency, key components, beneficiary, when it came into existence, whether there is actually any kind of upgradation, who all it covers, under what age group, all this becomes important. Okay. Next, so this is important for prelims as well as mains examination under government policies. Since it's an agriculture based this one, you can map it to economy also under agriculture. Okay. So now let us actually move forward in discussing. So earlier there was actually a question on Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, and Fasal Bima Yojana was also asked in one of your prelims. Okay. So now let's move forward. So the finance minister, while presenting the union budget, actually announced the launch of the PM Dhaanya Krishi Yojana. Okay. So let us actually see what is this Yojana about. So this is a scheme that basically aims to actually enhance this irrigation. It is going to increase the irrigation, the land fertility. How? By providing the farmers quality seeds as well as fertilizers. Okay. Whoever are the farmers who actually have very infertile, barren land as well as underdeveloped, agricultural land, for them it is going to enhance these facilities. It's going to cover 100 districts, and that is, I mean, the selection criteria is based on 3 parameters. One is there is actually low productivity in that district. Next one, there is only moderate crop intensity in that district, and the credit parameters is below average. That is the funds that that particular district actually has with respect to this agriculture is very low. So if the district actually qualifies or satisfies all these parameters, then what happens is that they are actually picked up and they are given these supports. Okay, that is irrigation and then better quality seeds, etc. So this is what it is. Basically, it is actually a program that is going to enhance the agriculture productivity. Next is, it actually is going to adopt crop diversification as well as sustainable agriculture processes. Next one, it is going to enhance your post-harvest storage also. And finally, it's going to improve your irrigation facilities as well as the availability of credit. Okay. So this is what is the basic scheme all about. Now, it is actually implemented by which ministry? Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, as well as the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy. Very, very important. and this actually draws inspiration from the aspirational district program. This program is nothing but it's a program that was launched in the year 2018 that actually focuses on developing the most underdeveloped districts. Okay, how it happens through a structured approach based on performance indicators, and then the entire aspirational districts framework actually focuses on data driven targeting. That is, they have proper data in order to target a particular district. There are proper collaboration as well as competition. So this is what this particular topic says. And then I told you the objectives is enhance the agriculture productivity in order to bring about the high yielding crops. Next, there has to be higher diversification and sustainable agriculture, you by maintaining the soil health, increasing the income. Okay, so that is what, because this actually motivates the farmers in order to diversify the cropping patterns and not just stick to monoculture. Next one, post-harvest infrastructure development. This is nothing but strengthening the storage facilities after the harvesting period, okay, at the block levels. Next one, improving the irrigation facilities. This is actually expanding the network of irrigation in order to ensure water availability. And finally, facilitating long-term as well as short-term credit. That is, always make the finance available to the farmers, okay, so that there is better investment in agricultural activities. So this is what is the article all about. So the next article, the silent crisis of rat hole mining, we've already covered on 10th Feb 2025, if you see over here. So you can actually refer to this video and brush the concept up. And next one is sex and violence today, which actually talks about the marital rape in India. So this also had been covered on 18th October 2024. You can actually refer to our DNA video that day so that you could actually see and understand the concept. Now let's quickly solve the mains and prelims practice question. So what does this mains question say? Despite being a cornerstone of grassroots democracy, the Panchayati Raj system in India faces structural and functional challenges. What are the key impediments to its effective functioning, and suggest the measures to revitalize the local self-governance? So, how your approach answer should be, it should actually be classified into a proper introduction. What will you say in the introduction? The 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992 brought about the Panchayati Raj institution in order to establish democratic decentralization or the grassroots democracy and rural development. However, the effectiveness has actually been recently hindered by structural and functional challenges. Okay, so this is how you will start the answer. Next one, in the body. What are all the challenges? Of course, financial constraints are there. There is over dependence on the centrally sponsored schemes. Next one, you have the politicization. You have very weak public participation. There is actually incomplete devolution because the states still have the powers and they don't give out the key factors like education, sanitation, etc. to the local bodies, etc. Okay, so these are the challenges that the Panchayati Raj actually faces. So as a way forward, you need to bring about measures, or there has to be structural overhaul that will enhance the fiscal autonomy of the state. Next one, you need to improve the training and digital governance, and also reduce the political interference, and also ensure full devolution of powers, that is, give some kind of autonomy to the local grassroots level so that they can actually tailor and modify according to the local needs, is what you need to say in this particular question. Now, what are the reforms is, you actually have to say bring about reforms in finance, administration, all this we've actually read already, right? So this is also a part of the conclusion you can write. Now, let us actually discuss the questions, that is the prelims questions that was discussed on Saturday by Pratik sir. So, consider the following statements. The CJI, that is the Chief Justice, important topic. So, CJI administers the oath of office. Sorry, I think it was Akhil sir who had taken it. So, yeah. The CJI administers the oath of office to the President of India. Of course, yes. Is Governor of India included? No. So, you need to know all these things. And moving forward, the CJI can appoint an arbitrator to resolve the financial disputes between the center and the states. Yes, correct. And the CJI can appoint the retired judges to serve in the Supreme Court. Absolutely correct. Okay. So, since all the three statements are correct, 1, 2 and 3, Your answer is option D. Okay. Now, moving forward, with reference to the Chief Election Commissioner and the other election commissioners' appointments, conditions of service in terms of Office Act 2023, consider the following statements. The Act regulates the appointment process, the conditions of service, and tenure of the CEC and the other election commissioners. Yes, that is what the Act itself says, no, the title itself. Next one, the president appoints the chief election commissioner and the other election commissioners based on the recommendation of a selection committee. Yes, correct. That includes the Chief Justice of India. No, Chief Justice of India is not included. Instead, it is actually by a union minister who is selected by the Prime Minister. So, PJI is not included. Okay, so this statement is wrong. The leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha is a member of the selection committee. See, always the selection committee and the people who are a part of it become very important for discussion. Okay, so leader of opposition, yes, he is a part of it, he or she. So here, since 1 and 3 are correct, here your answer will be option B. Okay, so now let's move forward. And these are the questions of today, and the link of which is actually posted down in the comment section. You need to go to our website and solve these questions in order to analyze how well you were actually attentive throughout the session and how you are able to, recall the concept. So the first one is about the Indian Ocean region, whether it's the fourth largest of the world's 5 ocean basins. Next one, how much of global maritime trade and the global oil trade it actually has. So you know what it is, we just discussed. Okay, so here you need to answer that on our website. Next one, with respect to that of the scheme that we recently discuss, that is the Pradhan Mantri Dhan Dhaanya Krishi Yojana. So again, this is very, very important, whether it will cover all the districts or it's going to cover only 100 underdeveloped districts based on the aspirational district program or not. All this is important. Implemented only by Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare? No, right? It is also Ministry of Animal Husbandry and Fishery. So this is also important. And then the next question is about the sovereign green bonds, whether they are debt instruments, and then how do they actually raise funds. And India sovereign, this one was first introduced in which budget, whether it was part of the economic survey or not. All this becomes very, very important. So with this, we've actually come to the end of our discussion of our daily news analysis. So for more effective as well as interactive live sessions, please do like, share and subscribe to Narayana IAS Academy YouTube channel. And so take care. We'll meet you soon. Thank you.